The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website.
Hi everyone. Planning a move later in life can be a daunting task. Joining us today is Marianne Stallings, founder of Bridge to Better Living, a referral service designed to assist those seeking assistance as they consider the next chapter of their lives. You'll want to stay tuned.
The Nebraska Passport Program is happening again this year, and I'm pleased to talk with Madison Johnson today, who is with the program, and she'll explain how it works, and maybe you'll find some new little mini vacations to take this summer throughout Nebraska.
Hi everyone. It is a great pleasure to have with us today Louis Pohl. Dr. Pohl is the author of a new book on being repurposed, aging well through humor, resilience, reflection, and curiosity. Whether you are planning to exit from work or have been away for an extended period, you will want to stay tuned to learn Dr. Pohl's views on life now and in the future.
Hello. Navigating resources and services for the senior citizens and the disabled in our world today can be very complicated. There can be a lot of questions and uncertainty. So today I am gathered with two amazing staff from Aging Partners to have a discussion to answer some of those questions, plant the seed for possible resources to be thinking about, and any additional information where the conversation will lead us. Stay tuned.
This and more on today's Live and Learn.
Hi everyone, I'm Julie Masters and welcome to Live and Learn. It is such a pleasure to have with us today Marianne Stallings. Marianne is the founder of Bridge to Better Living, a referral business for people seeking a new transition. So with that said, Marianne, welcome to Live and Learn.
Well, thank you, Julie. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, very delighted because just of your history and all the good things you've done, so we're really glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Marianne, I've had the pleasure of working with you on committees and so forth, but for our viewers, I think they would very much enjoy learning about your history and your background, and how did you ever start a business for older adults?
Well, actually, Julie, I started off as a teacher and educator with the Lincoln Public Schools for many years,
Wow.
and I taught the upper elementary and middle school. And it was during this time that my husband and I had to find retirement communities for our loved ones. And we would find the right one physically, but not financially, or the other way around.
Okay.
And it was a very, very frustrating time. And so we had kids that were teenagers, and he was working and I was working, and we didn't have a lot of time to go look anyway. So I thought there has to be a better way to help people go through this whole process, because that transition just to navigate it just takes a lot of time. And so I spent the last year and a half of my teaching career putting it together. But first I went and took a class on how to write a business plan. And then I started doing the research and figuring out exactly how I wanted the business to run. And we actually started at 16 years ago. We just celebrated our 16th birthday.
Wow,
But,
congratulations.
Well,
by the
thank
way.
you. And so what we do is we sit down with people and we find out what they need socially, physically, medically, and financially. And then we're able to narrow down the communities that meet that criteria. And we set up the appointments. We go with our clients on those appointments to make sure that all the information is transparent. And it's a free service for our clients. And we're able to make it a free service because we contract with all the different communities. So when a person moves into a community, that's when we get paid.
So for our viewers, just to clarify, when you say communities, you are referring to?
Retirement, independent living, assisted living,
Okay.
memory assisted, and long-term care.
Very good. So and which is important so people understand the distinction. So, Marianne, what are some of the issues that are faced by aging adults when contemplating a move? And what about their family members? Because it would seem that you have almost two clients who may or may not agree.
We do, yes. And even sometimes the couple doesn't agree. So what we try to do is match their personalities. And so not only are we matching criteria, but we're matching personalities. And so when we go on these tours, when you walk into a building, it has a feel to it. And you know, a person will get that feel. And sometimes, I had one lady walk in one day, and she walked over and she saw some people playing bridge. And she said, "This is where I'm going to come." And it was because she saw socially what she wanted was to be able to play a lot of bridge. She hadn't even looked at the apartment yet. But so, you know, when people are getting ready to make that move, families are involved, and the dynamics in families can really vary too. So we try to sit down and walk everybody through. And sometimes you'll have, mom doesn't need to move yet, dad does. So how do we mesh that together? And so there are different ways that we can do that.
You know, your point about families is well taken, because if there's a stressful situation, making a move can make it a little more stressful, right? So being able to balance that, but certainly your background as an educator and your staff, that makes a difference in terms of addressing that. So how do you help people prepare to move, and especially when maybe it's not something that they had in mind to do in the near future?
So some of the ways that we can help them is many of the communities will let them come in and eat dinner and kind of get to know the people that are living there. Even invite them back to participate in some of the activities, or maybe they're having a music production and they'll invite them to come see that. They can get on the waiting list and then kind of feel it out and make sure that this is where they really want to go. And also when they move in every community that I know of, and because we're in Lincoln and Omaha and up and down I-80, every community that I know you can give them a 30 days notice and move out. So you can say, hey, let's try it for 6 months, see what it's like, and then you can decide then.
You know, you mentioned waiting lists, and just for our viewers who are thinking, you know what, we need to do something. What's an average waiting list? Length of time?
I think it depends whether it's independent living, assisted memory. Independent living waiting lists are usually a little bit longer. It takes more time. Sometimes it can be 6 months to 2 years, 3 years.
Wow, okay.
And then your assisted living, just because physically these people may fall and have to go to skilled care, et cetera, your waiting lists there are shorter. And so the time would be shorter.
The time would be shorter just because of the circumstances. But it also says something about the independent living communities, that they do have a lengthy waiting list, because whatever they're doing right. Because people are staying.
Right.
Makes a difference.
So when I moved my mother into independent living, she lived there 10 years.
Did she? Okay.
So, and one of the gals that moved in about the time she did lived almost 20. So
it's their home.
It's their home.
We forget that, don't we? But it's really their home, and how to create that. So before we started this interview, we were talking about this next question, and you know, it's always the person in me, the gerontologist, who wonders, so were there some good stories and maybe not so good stories about moves? And I was intrigued when you said, really, most moves are good moves.
Most moves have been very good moves, you know.
Right.
I think because we drill it down to what their criteria, to meet their criteria, to meet their personality, that all comes together for them then. You know, Julie, the last 16 years, I can't begin to tell you how many smiles I've had, or watched the weight of the world come off of people's shoulders, or the hugs that we've had. You know, it's been so meaningful, and just have loved every minute of it.
It's got to be gratifying.
It is.
That you allow people a new place to live, a new home, and really a new chapter. So as someone who has been engaged in this work for some time. By the way, total compliment to you for taking the class to write a business plan and so forth. So you've not gotten into this profession recklessly, but rather a very thoughtful approach. So because of your thoughtfulness, what about you? What are you thinking about in terms of your own aging and how you're preparing for this different chapter?
So you're going to put me on the other side of the table, huh?
Well, but
Yes.
I would say to you, I'm thinking about my own aging at 64 and what can I do to, do the best I can. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, well, I too need to sit down and figure out what I would like socially, physically, what I need medically and financially. But I also think that, just staying active and making sure that quality of life is always there. That's,
Right.
no matter what our personalities, physically, medically, but I think that people need to make sure that they always have that quality of life. And so I think we also need to make sure that we have our wills taken care of, our POAs, our estates, that we've made the list of who gets what, when, where, and, do the kids know where those papers are? Do you know where the key to the safe deposit box is?
Mm-hmm.
And so just getting everything in order, even your funeral.
What terrific advice. Because I think sometimes we think we'll get to it another day, and it's like doing your taxes.
Yeah.
We'll get to it another day, and then that other day shows up and you think, holy smokes, I could have done something. To add to that, even our passwords to different accounts and how to get into XYZ program, and so how important that is. So, Marianne, we really could spend the whole day talking about all the good that you've done in your life and your business. But as we come to the end, the question I ask everyone, what gives you hope?
Over the last 16 years, I've watched people help people and really cared about how they help them. And again, I guess I go back to that quality of life. I've seen it. And it's just been, that's what gives me hope. It's been very, very gratifying. And so I think this next generation, the kids are really, really do care about mom and dad. And, by 2030, there's going to be 75 million baby boomers. And so, it's nice to have that next generation coming and caring.
Well, I think if anyone could have a good role model in their lives, it would be you, Marianne Stallings.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the good that you've done. And to our viewers, remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
My kid has been asking for this hot new gaming thing, and I was like, okay, he had a birthday coming up anyway. So I finally find the video game online, in stock. Thing is, it was from this shoddy website full of typos. That's when I remembered a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Bogus website? This is a shopping scam. Got us matching t-shirts instead.
Recognize fraud sooner,
He loves his.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hi, I'm Barb Tyler. I'm going to be speaking today with Madison Johnson from the Nebraska Tourism Office, and specifically the program called the Nebraska Passport Program. Madison, can you tell us a bit of history of the Passport Program and how it got started?
Yes, so the Nebraska Passport is actually 17 years old, so it's been around since 2010, which is really incredible. It's actually, as far as we know, the longest and the oldest passport program in the whole country. So Nebraska is really unique to have this. We're really fortunate to be able to have something quite like this, but it started as a way to kind of highlight the byways across the state and has evolved over the last 17 years to become this program, this really wonderful, treasured program that features 70 different stops across the whole state, all sorts of different variety of destinations, and it's a really fun program for everybody.
So are you a model? Would you say you're a model program? Did other states follow you, or?
Yeah, over the years, I've gotten a lot of phone calls from people who are like, "Oh, wow, yours is really successful. How do you do that?" And I, can kind of share some of the wisdom that we've learned from the last 17 years. But yeah, I mean, it is a rare thing that, especially statewide ones like this that are so different and unique, are really special.
So we were talking ahead of time, and you've been in this office for about 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been there almost more than half. Mm-hmm. So have you seen this grow like this?
Yeah, I mean, I started in 2019, and through COVID and through kind of how things have changed, I've changed it a little bit. We have a holiday passport as well.
Oh, I didn't know
that we started in 2022. That was kind of my brainchild a little bit.
Is that a November to January thing or something?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So be on the lookout for that if you love the holiday season. But yeah, it's kind of changed a little bit. It's stayed always the same in the sense that there's always 70 stops. The stops change every year. And then it's kind of a program that allows you to go to as many different places as you'd like, and also just encourages you to find new destinations you've never heard of and go to places that you've never been to before.
So when I heard that 70 stops and they're new every year, good Lord, I wouldn't have thought there was, so
yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
It is.
That's a lot. So is there a basis that you pick that? Are they required to be any requirements? What's the basis? One in every county, or what?
So all the stops are chosen from an application process. Mm-hmm. So this year we had about 350 applications. So it's a lot of applications, which means I turn a lot of people down, which is really sad. Actually, it's like
and
the
they can't
worst
renew.
Day. So there's about a 3 to 4 year wait period before a stop can be on again.
Really?
So a lot of the places have not been on in a long time, if they've been on before at all. But we always have a lot of new applications. So the only rules that we require of stops is that they're open at least one weekend day, and that they're open kind of consistent hours. So we want them to be open that's convenient for travelers. A lot of folks travel during the weekend, or maybe during the day, or kind of whenever. Just we don't want them to only be open from on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from 9
that'd
to
be tough.
noon or whatever. We want it to be a little bit more accessible. And then we want them to be nice and exciting and have them be interested in the program and be good ambassadors for tourism in the state.
So do you do it by category, like so many restaurants, so many shops, so many whatever?
No, it changes.
But there's if you have 70 stops, you have so many. You want restaurants because people will linger longer if they're at food.
Yeah. So kind of the way I do it is, so there are different tours in the program that we kind of just use as categories, but they're just for fun. But kind of the way I look at it is I go, okay, so in Lincoln, itself, let's say we don't want to have, 4 restaurants, because that can be boring. You're usually going to them in the same day or maybe the same weekend. We don't want it to just be museums. We don't want it to all be retail. We want it to be a nice variety of everything. So I'll look at okay, where are the restaurants at in the state? And I'll kind of map those out.
I can see your big whiteboard up there.
Oh, yes. It's a whole process. I take up a floor usually because I'm a floor person. But I'm always very a lot of highlighters, a lot of lines. So I kind of do that with, restaurants, with museums. I want to make sure it's all very diverse and exciting for everybody. And if maybe there's a bunch of stops that are going to partake or be interesting to a certain type of person, maybe I, say there's maybe a little more man-oriented. So maybe it'd be the Museum of Speed here in Lincoln as a stop this year. Maybe I'll throw them on, but then maybe I'll put something that maybe is for the women a little bit more. For
so do you
kids
have a theme?
And then adults.
Do you have a theme each year that's this is the masculine year, this is that, or this is the year?
So not year wide necessarily, but there are 70 stops, and then there are 10 tours. The tours are mini categories within the program, and then there are 7 stops in each tour. So those tours also change. So this year we have one celebrating the semi-quincentennial, which is the 250th birthday of the United States. So that's going to be history destinations. So that's the Capitol here in Lincoln. Also some more national history. So the Andrew Higgins Memorial in Columbus, if you're unfamiliar.
Didn't know of such a thing, no.
Yeah, so Andrew Jackson Higgins was the inventor of the Higgins boats, which were used in World War II.
We just came back from Smithsonian, so I saw those.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so he's from Columbus. So there is a memorial in Columbus dedicated to him. And then I've actually been to Omaha and Utah Beach, and there's actually a Higgins Memorial in Normandy as well, in France. And Higgins boats and a big sign that says Columbus, Nebraska are there as well. Cool. And I didn't even know that when I went there. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, local history, nationwide history. So that's just one category. I did just have a little boy. So I did create a kids theme this year that's kind of more centered towards boys. But those are things like kids museums, toy stores, things boys like.
So
So
you
the
have-
Sack Museum.
So you have these categories underneath, so you can pick and choose. So do people have to go in to buy something? Like if I went to the Capitol, I just go up to the desk and get it stamped and I'm good to go? Or do I have to actually do something?
You do not have to buy anything. So there is no cost to participate. So these booklets are free to everybody. When you go into destinations, you do not have to spend money, do not have to buy admission or anything in order to receive a stamp. You do have to buy admission if you want to tour the museum or what have you, but it's not required. It is strongly encouraged. So obviously
Sure.
the whole point is to provide economic impact and people in business to be able to see the benefit of the program, but it's not a requirement. So it can kind of allow for some flexibility.
So so anybody can apply, and you kind of, in your own mind, you try to balance everything out that way. So you said the category. So if you, as a new mom, what are some of the fun stops? Not necessarily for your child, but what would be, I mean, I can imagine there's some recreation parks or something like that. Something that are fun or more
Ooh.
unusual.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of really
I
fun
love
things.
unusual.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so one that I really love is called Something Special by Marilyn. It's in Atkinson, Nebraska.
Yep.
It's a year-round Christmas store. And it was started by, the gal who owns it now started by her mom, who would have been Marilyn. And it's this large, huge store, and it's so beautiful. She does such a wonderful
In
job.
Atkinson.
In Atkinson, yep, so up north. And she does such a beautiful job of organizing. It's very clean. She gave me raspberry tea when I went in, and I was like, this is wonderful.
Nice. So did you personally go see all these?
I try to every year. So I have every year I've been around, I've gone to at least 50
That's really good.
each summer. Yeah. And so I've been to a good majority of these.
Well, after
maybe
7
not.
years, yeah.
I've kind of been everywhere. It's really been fun.
So, so I imagine for Nebraska, as we all know, your holiday tours dependent on the weather, but it also can be dependent in the summertime too. You got to watch the radar. And everything else.
Yeah.
So
You never know when there's going to be a rogue,
Yeah,
a rogue
yeah.
cell.
So how do people get the passport? Do they just apply? What's the time frame? Can they? I know because you were out of the office for a while. Did it start like on January 1st and it goes through December 31st?
No,
What's the
it
time?
starts May 1st.
May 1st.
So
Okay,
it's a
well, we're
summer
right on time then.
program.
We're right on
Yep,
time.
yep. So May 1st it starts, and then the end is September 30th. So
Ooh.
it's just through the summertime, which makes it a little bit more competitive, which we like. People get really excited. And you have a whole summer to collect as many stamps as possible.
That's like stamp. It's like a passport. Yeah.
Yep. So you get a booklet either by going to any of the 70 destinations,
Oh, then pick up there.
or you can request them on our website and we'll mail them to you for free. So you can go and you'll get one. You'll go into any of these destinations. You go, hi, I'm here for the passport. They'll stamp your booklet. You choose to spend money at that destination or be on your way. And then you go to as many as you'd like. And then you send, at the end of the program, there's this sheet in the back that you send to our office. And then we will send you prizes based on how many you go to.
So let's go to that now. So prizes. So is it a prize from the different stops? Is it cash? They have to turn it in by such a date or what?
Yes, you do have to turn it in by such a date. You have to turn it in by, I think it's October 8th this year.
Okay.
It's a week after the program ends. But depending on how many stops you go to, there's different types of prizes. So if you go to 10 stops, you get a magnet and a $5 lottery coupon. If you go to 25, you get those as well as our Visit Nebraska calendar, which is a really popular one. It has postcards in it. People love it. If you go to 50 this year, you're also going to get a stocking hat, which I know sounds weird because you're like, this is a summer program.
For the holiday tour.
But you get your prizes in the wintertime. So I'm always thinking. And then if you go to all 70, that's the big grand prize, you get $45 additionally in lottery coupons. You get a t-shirt. And then this year I think we're doing a koozie as well to go in like your soda can or whatever.
Just curious, what's the stocking has? Just big red end or is it
It'll have our little passport logo on it.
Okay. So do you have to be a certain age to do this?
No, anybody. I think one of my favorite statistics I talk about. So folks that go to all 70 stops, we call passport champions. So those people are incredibly loyal. A lot of folks do it every year, for years on end. And the youngest person I had last year that went to all 70 was like 7 months old.
Well, that doesn't count.
And the oldest person I had was like 102.
That's
so
good.
Truly, that is like the scope of an average human's life, right? So that's like everybody. There's something on there. I know the baby obviously didn't have much of a choice, but their older siblings or whatever was able to have a good time, and it's truly for everybody.
So if the program starts May 1st, so they had to have their applications in probably by.
So for stops, the application process is in the fall.
So they'll be starting here pretty soon then.
Yeah, so typically
right away.
September-ish is
Mhm.
when they open. Yeah, September through the end of November is usually when applications are open for the summer program.
Mhm.
If you're a stop that's interested in being a destination on the holiday program, that's closer to August opens.
Okay.
So yeah, it comes up quick.
So then, they turn the applications in. The decision is made by end of the year.
Typically, yeah.
Typically,
Mhm.
and then they can start figuring out what they want to do exactly. So
Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
lot of process of organizing. They get very, very excited. So it's a lot of
So
fun.
it's not necessarily in all 96 counties. Is that a goal you have back in your head, or?
I really I more scope it out by region.
Okay.
So it's hard, especially in the Sand Hills in Southwest Nebraska. There's certain areas where there's not as much population. Like obviously there's a lot more people that live in Lincoln and Omaha that live in Alliance, right?
Mhm.
But I always want to make sure that there's a stop nearby someone, no matter where they're at. So, year after year it changes too. So maybe one year I really focus on Southwest Nebraska. I think last year we had 3 or 4 stops in McCook alone.
Oh.
But this year there's not as many in McCook, and there's going to be more in a different part of the state. So we kind of, cycle through it. So that allows for a lot of flexibility. But, there is more stops where the population centers are, just because
Mhm.
that's where the businesses are.
Mhm.
But we do really try to make sure that everybody feels represented. At least after a few years, they're gonna have a stop in their town.
So you may not know this, but so do people kind of make these little mini vacations, like they go out for a weekend or midweek, and they maybe a 1 or 2 day thing and stop
Mhm.
somewhere. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
a lot of people have a fifth wheel. They'll take their RV. They'll drive out west. They'll come back. They might be like, the thing is, I've heard a lot of people say that it's kind of addicting. So they might start like, oh, I'll just go to Lincoln and Omaha stops. I live here in Lincoln. I'll just go to those. Those are easy to get to. And then they'll be like, well, next weekend, if I just drive to Grand Island, I can get 15, and then I might as well just drive to Kearney the next. It's like it kind of becomes like
That's good.
a thing that's really fun and exciting, and they get to know things, and the people who do it are so lovely, and the stops are so excited that it just allows for a lot of really great conversation and learning and community. So.
Anything else you need to tell us about this year's program?
Basically, yeah, if you want to know where the stops are, so like I mentioned, there's several here in Lincoln. There's 6 in Lincoln alone. Those are on our website.
Okay.
Visit nebraskapassport.com. So you can go there and access any of the stop information. You can also go to our office. Like I mentioned, the Capitol. So I know that a lot of people know where the Capitol
Mhm.
is. So if you need a booklet, you can go to the Capitol. But you can request them on our website, nebraskapassport.com. There's also an app you can download on your phone if you're interested in that. There's more info on our website. And just, have a lot of fun, wear sunscreen, good summer stuff.
Yeah, I went to track meet yesterday. But anyway, thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I was really interested in this. I was so glad you could come in and do this. So,
Yeah.
so thanks so much for tuning in today. Remember, there's always time to live and learn.
So, I'm playing with the dog, and I get this robocall from the Social Security Administration saying my card had been suspended and I had to call them back immediately. And that's when I remembered a tip from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Random robocall? This is a Social Security scam.
Recognize fraud sooner,
Robots.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hi everyone, I'm Julie Masters and welcome to Live and Learn. Absolutely delighted for you to be able to meet our guest today, Dr. Louis Pohl. Dr. Pohl has just written the book, Repurpose, Aging Well Through Humor, Resilience, Reflection, and Curiosity. Welcome, Louis Pohl.
Thank you so much. It's good to join you today.
Likewise, good to be around you again from our travels at UNO.
Yes.
Louis, I know a little bit about your background, as I just alluded, from our time at UNO. Could you share with our viewers your life experiences and how you got to be repurposed?
Well, my life experiences take me lots of directions.
Right.
So, born in New York, 10 schools in 12 years by the time I graduated from high school, university, all of those kinds of things. But down toward the end, when I was the Dean of the College of Business here at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, I started thinking about what it is that I wanted to do when I wasn't the dean anymore and I wasn't an academic. And so in 2013, I began a blog. It's travelingdean.com. You can go there and read stories. And it's not a travel log. It's about different odd things that I saw in different places, India, China, wherever I was. But as my time wore down toward the end, I decided that I wanted to do something that took advantage of the skills that I had in writing, but took me in a different direction. So I landed on short stories, and over time, I ended up with this book, almost by mistake, almost as an accident. I had 50 short stories, trying to figure out how to organize them, and then I'm in the shower one day, and it dawns on me that some of them are related to aging. And then I get to write a few more, and I'd have 20 or 25 stories, and that's what we have now.
So you had a shower epiphany.
I had a shower epiphany. I was humming a James Taylor song, Go Home by Another Way. Me and you can be wise guys too, if we just go home by another way. So I was humming that song, and it just came to me that, oh, well, I can do that. So that's how it happened.
That's beautiful. Well, so you talk about this book that's entitled Repurpose, Aging Well Through Humor, Resilience, Reflection, and Curiosity. Could you share with our viewers not only the inspiration from the shower experience, but also what motivated you, particularly as someone who was transitioning from the role of a college dean now to a different kind of role?
Well, motivation largely came from the people around me, my grandmother, my friends, other family members, people that I just met and learned more about. And what I realized is that hardly anyone was truly retired. Nobody was going home and drinking beer at noon and throwing down shots in the early afternoon and basically watching TV or whatever it is that they did in a very confined area. Most of the people that I know were just off and running and doing some really interesting things. And it was almost a daily experience where I would come across someone and I would hear something interesting about what they were doing with their time now. And one of the important things is that they found what they were doing to be important, to matter. And later on, even after I wrote the book, I started seeing literature on mattering and people doing things that matter. And folks who do things that matter are happier and healthier. That's the long and the short of it. So so once I started realizing that this term retired really didn't describe what the people I knew were doing, then I struggled to find another word. I wanted one word. I wanted a word that somebody would go, oh, I understand that. And if they didn't, you could have a quick conversation. And that's how Repurposed became the title for the book.
And it tells so much, and yet it affords people the opportunity to ask more questions. Without a doubt, you're good at filling in the blanks, right?
Well, I try to be, but the important thing for readers is to realize before you even start, this is your book too, because there's hardly a story in there that you won't think, oh, well, something like that happened to me, or I know someone who had that happen to them. So I wrote the stories, but they're our stories, and that's really important. And another thing that I want people to come away with is the sense that repurposing can be fun. It's not always fun. We're going to have health setbacks. Right. We're going to have losses in our lives, all of those kinds of things. But it can still be an awful lot of fun. And frankly, I'm having a great time writing and talking about these stories because I'm not done. I've got 25 more outlined, ready to go. And I've got another writing project that I'll be finished with by the end of April. And I'm going at it again. And I have an idea for a book. And so I'm going to chase it until I don't want to anymore.
I think it's interesting. So you've had so many role models in your life that have helped you to rethink or really re-envision what aging can be like. One of the things, and in a way, you're a role model for other people. You're certainly a role model for people like myself who are coming to the end of my academic career. Louis, you talk about the need for an owner's manual. as people age. And that's, you talk about it in the book. What does that look like?
Well, there are all kinds of directions that we get. We have doctors and other health professionals that tell us, have a colonoscopy every now and then, and well, they're more specific than that, but they give us pretty good direction in that realm. What they don't tell us, and they don't seem to want to talk about very much, is how the day-to-day is going to work. So, over time, am I going to feel less comfortable when I get out of bed? Am I gonna feel some soreness? Am I gonna hurt? Am I gonna, what is it about aging that I have to manage and everybody else has to manage on a daily basis? What is it that we should expect? And that's what I think needs to be written about. And because the other things are there. And we already have some practice in a sense. We've got all kinds of direction to provide young mothers with their young children and what to expect there. When are their teeth going to erupt? Don't panic if they get some kind of chicken pox, some other kind of childhood disease. Don't panic. All of that kind of thing. There's none of that. So if I wake up tomorrow morning and I've got a new ache or a pain, is that to be expected? Is that an indicator of some bigger problem? And I just don't know. And I'm lucky because I have a really good relationship with my pediatrician, my doctor. And he and I go back and forth in a very conversational way about some changes that have happened. And so I trust his judgment. But a lot of people aren't in that kind of position. They might not have a regular physician. They might only see someone when they have to. And so they need more direction, and I do too.
So Lou, a quick comment when you said about the pediatrician. I have to tell you
maybe I need one.
As a gerontologist, if I ruled the world, every baby born would be assigned not only a pediatrician but a geriatrician, because it ties into what you're talking about, this idea of thinking about aging a long game, as opposed to thinking about, fits and spurts in terms of aging, but that aging really is lifelong. Now, another thing that's mentioned in your book is about these aging rock stars, and you clearly have a passion for music. You've talked about the Rolling Stones and Elton John and the Beatles. But you made a comment about their performance and that maybe it isn't exactly what it used to be. Why do you think that is, aside from the obvious?
Well, I do think there's some physical limitations. It's a question of how much can you do on stage. And if you're someone like Elton John who performs with no break, so you're watching him for two hours. The physical demands are pretty significant. And even though, you might try to stay in the best shape that you can, that's going to be problematic. Voices change. They might change considerably. If you listen to some of the songs, of the old songs that were popular, say in the early to mid 70s, that he does now, well, he used to do now, because he stopped, at least, it seems like, they sound almost totally different. They're still wonderful songs, but they are different. And because of the style, I don't think he ever intended himself to be somebody like Tony Bennett, where the song is ageless, or Frank Sinatra's song is kind of ageless. It's different.
Right, it is.
And then the other thing that happens is I think there are, when we're talking about groups, you have people who simply died. The Rolling Stones, Brian Jones was dead at 27. So they lost somebody really early. But over time, Charlie Watts dies, Bill Wyman leaves the group. So who's the Rolling Stones now? Is it just Mick Jagger and whoever else is collected? Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, really. But even Charlie Watts believed that they were at their best in the 70s when a guy named Mick Taylor was their guitarist.
Absolutely.
That's when they were, and I happen to agree. So what happens there? And it's rare that somebody finally says early on and is prepared to walk away from it. So when you see somebody like Grace Slick, who says, I can't imagine being an old person on the stage, I'm going to go do something else, it's out of the ordinary.
But it's good.
But she was successful at it.
She was.
Oh, and it is. She's in her 80s. She's still painting.
She is. So we've got truly about 60 seconds left.
Okay.
And so I want to just make sure that we mention a quote from your book. It's found on page 42. Don't let yourself get into a funk that will counter the effects of positive changes that have been made.
Yeah.
And you really are a reflection of that. You easily could have just stayed back, but you said, I'm moving forward. So with that, the final question for you, everybody's asked this, what gives you hope, Lewis Pohl?
Well, just looking at the people around me who've gone before me. I'll give a quick example. Just about 2 weeks ago, I was in Tallahassee, Florida, helping celebrate the 100th birthday of a friend of mine. He was the director of the Population Center where I got my PhD.
My goodness.
Charles Nam. And Charlie is an amazing human being. Until he was 98, he was the editor of his local area's newsletter, 98. When I walked in the door of a restaurant the night before the main event, he knew who I was right away, and I haven't seen him in a decade. And he stands up, no cane, no walker. So for me now, he's my example. If you're thinking about going the distance, and going the distance meaning 100, then he's the one to look at. Yeah, his wife's been dead for 25 years. His friends have all died. They passed away. So he's networked, he's recreated his life around all of these people that he's known in the last 25 or 30 years. And I was around a lot of those people for the celebration. It was wonderful trying to see that. So I think there are people around us all of the time that we can look to and say, this is really going well. And that's what we should think about.
I want to be like him.
That's right. I want to be like him.
Well,
so Charlie and I now have this he's written a memoir. I've read his memoir. We've gone back and forth.
Oh my goodness.
He lived on Long Island in Brooklyn. I have relatives. My mother was born in Brooklyn. We have all kinds of things in common.
Well, Lewis Pohl, we cannot thank you enough for motivating us, encouraging us, and to think about how we can repurpose our life. And very grateful for your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well. This is a lot of fun.
I hope so.
Appreciate it.
I hope so. Well, and to our viewers, remember, it is never too late to live and learn and to be repurposed.
I was doing some shopping and got a pop-up on my laptop. Computer had a virus. So I called the number on the page, and the guy on the phone wants to take control of my screen to sort it out. Then I remember a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Control my screen. This is a tech support scam. Thankfully, my order still went through.
Recognize fraud sooner so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live and Learn. My name is Angie Bubak, and I am the Program Manager for the Age and Disabled Waiver Service Coordination Program, which is a lot of words. We are aware that navigating services and supports for our seniors and our loved ones with disabilities can be very complicated. So I'm joined today with two of my amazing coworkers to talk with you and help provide information that we hope gives you some pause and things to think about and brings questions to your mind that maybe we can help answer. So to my left.
Hi, I'm April Landauer. I'm a service coordinator for the Aged and Disabled Waiver.
And good morning, I'm Shelley Johnson. I'm with Aged and Disabled Waiver Program. I am a supervisor, and my new role is a community network specialist.
Awesome. It's a lot of words, isn't it?
It is a lot of
words in our titles. So
it's always a lot of words.
Aged and Disabled Waiver. That's the kind of a key word there. So
So today I really wanted to talk with everyone about some of the concerns that you might have when you have a loved one in your home that you're caring for or is living alone, and you want to make sure that they can stay in their home. Or When do they need to go to a higher level of care, and what's out there and what's available and who can help? Exactly. So I really want to think about those loved ones that, okay, I'm worried about my mom's fallen, or if there is a concern with, they forget things, and you just don't know when the forgetting becomes a problem.
Right.
When do we need to get them to go to the doctor? When do we find out if it really is dementia or if they have some other concerns? So those are some of the things that I want to talk about. What other issues have been going on in the community that you've seen?
Exactly. I think in our day-to-day work and with our coordinators and when we're working with families, it's not only the possible participant or someone that has the struggles, but it's also the loved ones or, not friends, not knowing what to do next.
Yeah.
I think a question we hear a lot is, I've moved my family member into an assisted living and we have been paying privately and we are running out of money. So what do we need to do?
Sure.
And what's concerning is sometimes that happens too late. So, I think the conversation about how can we be proactive with that, right? Here's what you need to be thinking about in advance. Yeah. What about you?
Many of the questions I get or concerns I get is that my loved one is having issues with getting dressed, with bathing. Maybe they're not safe doing those things, but they still try to do them. And those are called our activities of daily living. And those are defined as eating, mobility, transfers, toileting, and bathing, and dressing. And so a lot of
things that we do on a daily,
everybody
does,
we
right?
need to do to take care of ourselves.
Exactly.
Everybody
Exactly.
does those.
Right.
And so people are having concerns that their loved one is having trouble with those things.
Yeah. Well, in the sandwich generation these days, so we've got families out there taking care of their littles and they're taking care of their teenagers and then their parents. So they really are in the sandwich generation. They don't have a lot of time to think about all of this, but we need them to plan, is what I hear.
Exactly.
We need them to plan early, and we want to talk about some of the levels of care that we have available.
Right.
So if we did have somebody needing some care, so we talked about assisted living. That is an option. First of all, we would love to have them stay in their home, right? But if not, we might have to go to assisted living. What's another option?
So past assisted living would be nursing home level of care. And basically to differentiate between the two is that with assisted livings, really someone needs to be a 1 assist or less for those ADLs. And that means that they need hands-on assist. So I'm going to put my hands on to help Angie transfer out of the chair.
Okay.
Because she has balance issues.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Right. It can happen.
And when you say 1 assist, I just want to clarify quick. That means a person.
Yep.
Got
One
it.
person
One person is
helping.
necessary because we all, with the bathing and all of the activities of daily living, there could be struggles. But with this population or what we're specifically talking about, there's either been a diagnosis or there's something preventing them from that independence, correct? Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So they just need one person to help them do those things to be successful.
Right.
And then nursing home level of care is really when we need 2 people to help us with those activities of daily living,
Right.
or we're dependent. That participant cannot participate in that activity at all, and the caretaker has to do every step for them. And when we talk about getting help in the home, in facilities, really what we want to remember is that the goal is always to keep our loved ones as independent as possible.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think that's important.
I agree.
Nobody, I think when I look back and think, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, back when my grandparents were still alive, when they started to have struggles and they couldn't be in their home alone. The option was you are going into a nursing home and say goodbye to your house, their dignity. I mean, there was just so much taken. And so as we get further in the discussion here, we're fortunate that we have an option for people to consider.
Absolutely.
To have their home be a choice, so to speak.
And that's exactly what I want to talk a little bit more about. So you had talked about if we live in home, we could, we need to make sure that they're as independent as possible. Yes. So people might need some support. We also want to make sure they're safe in the home.
Yes.
So as we talk about these services, we want to get a little bit more into the discussion about what does it take to get involved with Aged and Disabled Waiver Program. Can you help explain a little bit how that process works and what that program's about?
Yes, with all kinds of language.
Right, right.
So, as I just said before, what used to be was the option once you could not care for yourself independently in your home was either you move in with family or we're looking at a nursing home. Fortunately, we have in the state of Nebraska, what is the umbrella is home and community-based waivers. Home and community is exactly what we're focused on, right? With special criteria. And there's a lot of additional information we can get into, but I think what's most important as we talk specifically about aged and disabled waiver are a couple of things. It's a federal program that the individual must meet specific criteria because you're going to have your services paid for by Medicaid dollars. And when you hear the waiver in the title, that participant that might qualify is waiving the option to go into that nursing home, which is what used to happen years ago. Now they're saying, I know I have that option, but I prefer to stay in my home.
So what I'm hearing is they really still have to meet the level to go
there's
into a nursing home?
Yes, there is an entire process. So we can walk through that briefly. But I just want it to be emphasized. There's specific criteria. So as we talked about bathing, needing help, it's not that if you have a struggle with bathing, you know.
Not just for anybody.
Right. So I think we're at a point we can talk about just the process.
Absolutely.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yep, walk me through that process.
Okay. So step one, you or the participant, and we say loved one because this is not age discriminatory, right? It's 65 and over, or it is someone with an individual with a disability. You must start with Medicaid and you must apply through the Department of Health and Human Services, and you must be determined eligible. Medicaid is the key. So that has to happen first, and you work with the Department of Health and Human Services for that process.
All right.
Once they are determined eligible, then a waiver service specialist, a representative from the department, is required to come out and sit with that individual and their loved ones, and they're going to ask a lot of questions with a standardized tool that is used and required by the Center for Medicaid and Medicare. They say you have to administer this tool, and then we determine if you're eligible. Once determined eligible for service, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare requires you to work with a service coordinator, which is what we have. We house our team here at Aging Partners. There's AAAs, which stands for
Area Agency on Aging.
All across the state of Nebraska, and also with the Department of Health and Human Services, they provide service coordinators as well. But the Center for Medicare and Medicaid says you have to have a service coordinator assigned to help you navigate the entire journey.
So does that also mean that that's somebody that probably couldn't do it all on their own? So they really do need that support, that added level of support through that program?
Yes, they're meeting and developing a plan. It's not that you qualify and then you just get what's the word I'm looking for? Just any hours that you are wanting, right?
So
there's specific guidelines, there's a specific tool that's used, and the coordinator helps explain, navigate, develop a plan based on what are the needs of the participant, what does that person need? And then every year, you come back and look at how is that person progressing? Are they improving? Have their needs changed? Are they happy with services? And that is reviewed every year, but I want to back up and just clarify. The services coordinator is also required to have monthly contact. So it's not like you get the services and then it's just bye-bye, right? You're involved, you're in it. So, and you're helping the families to understand how to navigate. And I think the most important part is when you have that system in place and those supports, it also gives the loved ones or the friends the ability to kind of breathe and have, you know, security that their loved one is being cared for, and they can continue to live their life too. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So overall, what I'm hearing is that this program helps people stay independent as much as possible. I hear that they are going to be safe because someone's coming out on a regular basis if they qualify for the service.
Correct.
I heard that you have to make sure that you go through Medicaid first. You have to be eligible.
Correct.
And then you have to be eligible for this program specifically.
Exactly.
And all of the services are going to be based on need. So it's not a free-for-all, but it's based specifically for individuals and what they aren't able to do.
Correct.
All
And I
right.
appreciate you saying that, Shelley, because again, it's a federal program,
Yes.
right? And the aged and disabled waiver is the program of the Department of Health and Human Services.
Right.
Right? When we talk about that services coordinator, that person, that's kind of your tour guide, if you will, your support, that piece of it is where our aging partners, the AAAs, the Area Agency on Aging across the state of Nebraska, comes in to coordinate, provide the coordinators based on age, again, 65 and older, work with a AAA, Area Agency on Aging, and if it's birth to 64, or in that, the Department of Health and Human Services has a coordination team. So,
As well.
and I know there's a lot of logistics, but I think the most important takeaway, you know, is hearing us explain we have this waiver that's an option, and if you have questions, you know, we here at Aging Partners are definitely here to answer and clarify.
Well, I think we need to come back and talk a lot more about what all this service offers. But
I
today,
agree.
I think we've probably got where we need to be.
Yes.
I hope that clarified some information for everybody.
I do too. I do too. So that's all the time we have for today. We hope you found this information helpful. If there are any questions that you would like to ask, please don't hesitate to reach out to us here at Aging Partners. And remember, it's never too late to live and learn.